take my breath away. Whoa, 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 can this be true? Don't forget me when I'm gone, or my heart will break. I have loved you for so long, it's all I can take.
This podcast for a Wednesday, a hump day. It is the middle of, almost the middle of November. And we know that there are people all over, well, not just Canada, the United States, all over the world that occasionally, at least, tune into this show. So we don't want to be too local. But the weather has been stunning in southern Ontario for the last week or so. And I was actually on the golf course yesterday. And the first time I can remember playing when it wasn't snowing in November. So it is an unusual year in many, many ways, not the least of which is the fact that here we are in November, and it's Masters Week. John Shannon, of course, is with me. And joining us, two guys who need no real introduction.
Okay, don't do it then.
Okay. Just
Let them guess.
Guy 1 and Guy 2, as they shall be referred to henceforth. No, Ian Leggett is with us. He was on a couple of weeks ago. Leggett has just taken over a new job as the managing general at St. George's, one of the great golf courses, not just in Canada, but in the world. And our good friend Dave Perkins is with us, and a long time no talk and see. And you look beautiful, Perk. You feeling better?
It's great to be me, let me tell you.
So, where do you start with this? The golf season almost invariably begins in the northern climes in mid-late April, maybe early May on a bad year. But Augusta is, for many reasons, kind of a coming out party for the golf season. And even if you're not playing yet, it gives you optimism that golf is soon to be played. The exact reverse is true right now, Lego. We are in the northern climes. The golf season has either ended or is ending, and it does so with the Masters. Are you okay with this? Is this, I mean, we want to see a Masters golf tournament. We're going to see it with no people. We're not going to see the flowers the way they were, but as a general rule, is this still all good?
I think we're okay with it. I think the world's adjusting to this unusual norm that we're living in. And I think you're right. It's, for us, especially, in Canada, not so much the West Coast, but even in Canada, specifically North America, Augusta is the awakening of everything that nature has to give us. I mean, this is the start of the golf season, but as you said, the trees begin to flower, people are planting gardens this time of year. And it's not necessarily just the golf fan that, is awakening coming out of winter. It's the world as far as we're concerned and as North America is. So I think the Masters is what, sort of dictates us as golfers as that awakening. It's time for us to head to the tee. It's time for us to get our gardens ready. It's time for us to, get the lawnmower ready. Everything that is relating to being outside is indicative of the start of the Masters week. So we are in a different thing. Now we're getting our snow blowers ready.
Yeah.
And I think what we're looking for, me personally as a golf fan, is this particular week and how this time of year, weather is going to dictate who wins this golf tournament. And what we saw yesterday at Augusta National and the torrential downpour that happened even lends itself greater to what Augusta National is slowly becoming. And that is a launcher's golf course where, I keep saying it over and over again, I will be very, very, very surprised if a Zach Johnson or a Mike Weir type player ever win at Augusta again, because it really is setting itself up even more so this week with the wet conditions of Augusta National and that prototypical player on the PGA Tour now.
Perk, you've spent more time at Augusta than any of us, I'm pretty sure. What are your thoughts on this? Are you as excited? How do you feel about this?
This time of year, listen, the Dodgers won the World Series. The Leafs won the Stanley Cup as usual. Nobody cares what time of year it is. 20 years from now, there'll be a big list of champions, and it'll be Joe Blow, Joe Blow, Joe Blow, Joe Blow. Nobody's going to say, well, that one was played in August, that one was played in April, that one was played in November. Nobody's going to care. Nobody cares the U.S. Open was played in August, just that they had a winner. I mean, the only things that stick out as weird are the things that didn't happen. There's no Olympic Games this year. There's no Final Four this year. There's no, the things that didn't happen, we notice more. But the things that are happening, it's just a shift in dates, so we can all live with that.
The one thing, Dave, I would tell you is that I think in the end, by Sunday, there'll be more attention on the Masters by sports fans because there's less to watch right now. When you think about at this time of year when the NBA would be underway or just starting, the NHL would be underway, we'd be smack in the middle of college football and the NFL. Now college football is sporadic. I mean, heck, LSU Alabama has been postponed, and the NFL is doing what it does. There'll be a lot more people just dying for some Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon sports to watch, and it'll be, in my mind, watching Augusta this weekend will be a respite.
Sure.
I think
we know the course is going to look fantastic. We know it's going to look great. And to me, this will be, oh my, there is something normal again in Augusta. And that to me is exciting.
And especially in Canada, because this is usually the weekend where the NHL playoffs are determined too. You know what I mean? It's the last week of the season. Everybody's looking ahead to the first round of the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't happen either.
Right.
The only thing that'll affect us Sunday is how our fantasy football teams are doing. That'll determine what we watch.
I think, Perky, going to your point there, I think what's different around golf and any other sport, there is no asterisk on who's going to win at Augusta. I think the asterisk is shortened season in the NHL, revised schedule in Major League Baseball. Yep. You're right. 50 years from now, that asterisk, are people going to ask, well, what is that asterisk? Well, but when it comes to golf, the only asterisk is the date change. Now, the question I got for you is, it's not a question, it's a comment, and this came up the other day with someone, is that how do you validate the winner of this tournament when the fans aren't there? Because we know the impact that the patrons have on the outcome of this golf tournament, the roars that lends itself across the golf course, and that impacts the ultimate winner and loser of this event. And I think more than ever, the guys like Rory McIlroy and Dustin Johnson and Tiger Woods feed off these moments of when the patrons are there that aren't there. And the other question is, this came up in a conversation. Does Colin Morikawa win the PGA Championship when he's got his first chance to win a major championship, when he's out there really playing with his pals? Yeah. So,
but here, Ian, you talked about the roar of the crowd. How is the roar of the crowd in Augusta different than at the Open, or at the U.S. Open, or at the PGA Championship, or the Players Tournament? How is it different?
Well, I think at Augusta, and Perky can tell you this, I mean, there's hallways there, and it's resounding, it's echoing, it is a chamber there. And when you are standing on the 17th tee, if you've ever been there, it's a mile away from the 12th green. but you can hear when something happens. It resonates through the entire property. So, you know, without that there, I think there's really going to be an impact on who wins and loses this tournament. I think that there isn't that, you know, if you want to call it raised up stress level of Tiger Woods coming from behind. You're not going to have those moments that we got, you know, when Jack won in 86 and Seve hits it in the water on 15. Those type of moments are not going to happen this year.
No, but guys will still hit it in the water at 15, you know. That's just the way it happens, right?
Yeah, but I think the people that, you know, the players that are in front or behind are not going to know that's happening until they see a leaderboard.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of boards there, as you know.
We remember Masters of past as a general rule, and maybe it's fantasy, as the weather being perfect, the sun shining, there's almost no breeze, and the game is played in its purest form. That clearly is not going to happen this week. The last forecast I saw, Lego, you may have an update, but I saw anywhere from 40 to 80% chance of rain every day of this tournament.
100% tomorrow now, Bob. There's 100% tomorrow.
That's a lot.
Sunny Saturday.
Oh, thank you, Percy Salzman.
You're welcome. What? No Dave Duvall? No. I'm intrigued by what you two guys think of the potential impact of a very wet golf course. This is now a much longer golf course than it once was. Obviously, you're not going to get much roll out there. We've seen Bryson DeChambeau now hit a golf ball 400 yards. Now, yeah, he may have had a torrential wind behind him, but nonetheless, he hits it way far and keeps it in the air an awful long time. Lego, to you first. If the weather conditions are what we anticipate, how does it change our prognosis of who will be in contention?
Well, it'll be interesting to see how, you know, Augusta National, you know, sets the golf course up and how they decide to play the ball. I mean, I know that they, you know, like you said, Augusta National is, you know, aligned with the purity of the game. If they decide if they play the ball down after the amount of rain that's had, we're going to see some interesting shots around Augusta National with mud balls. Pitching around the greens is going to be extremely difficult under wet conditions. So we'll have to wait and see where this thing plays out. But there's no doubt about it that, you know, Dustin Johnson and Rory McIlroy and Bryson DeChambeau and Justin Thomas and, you know, the list goes on. Those are the people that are going to have the opportunity to win. I'm going to throw a name out there and just say I don't see any chance that Webb Simpson is going to have any chance of winning at Augusta National.
Hit it far
but as I say that, you can call me out on it Sunday as he's putting a jacket on.
He was right in it last year till he hit it into the water at 12, right?
Yeah, I just think the softer conditions are just, I mean, it just lends itself to the ability of these particular players to reach those par fives, and reaching those par fives is a huge advantage at Augusta National.
But conversely, Perk, let me throw this at you. Perk, conversely, distance obviously is going to be an issue, and the ability to fly the ball as far as you can, carry it as far as you can. But especially for guys who've never played there before, or maybe has only played there on a limited basis once or twice, the greens are going to be a factor. The speed of the greens is always a factor. And if there's a lot of rain, those greens won't be as quick as they historically have been. Does that balance the field?
No, they can make those greens as fast as they want because of that sub-air system. It can rain all day Thursday, and if there's sunshine Friday or wind Friday morning, those greens will be like putting down your bathtub. They can make them as fast as they want. And just to back up a second, Lego's talking about the par fives, and I almost think the par fives aren't a factor anymore because there are no par fives for these monsters. I think we're looking this year at this guy DeChambeau, who can he can hit the ball over everything. He can hit it over forget the bunker at 8. He can clear the bunker at 8. He can hit it over the trees at 9 on the left. And come into that miserable green with an L wedge. Like if he clobbers it right, I mean, he can hit it over those little wee trees that they put in down the right side at 11, and come into 11 with a 9-iron or so. You know what I mean? Like he can do these things that we've really never seen done. I mean, I was there in '97 when Woods destroyed the place. 18 under. And all you heard the next year was they're going to tiger-proof the golf course, and they planted 40-foot trees down the 11th fairway. I mean, not just little saplings like we put in our backyard. They planted 40-foot trees, and said, "Oh, go ahead, Tiger." And it took them a couple of years to get it back because they tiger-proofed the golf course. So these guys know their golf course. They know how to do it. But I would say, DeChambeau on the par 4s is where the story is going to be wrote. Like if he can drive it over the bunker on 5, Lego, that's a carry of 335 down to that bunker on the left. If he can drive it over that, good Lord, nobody's ever driven it over that. But if he can drive it over that, all of a sudden he's playing a different game the way Tiger was in '97, the way Nicklaus was 60 years ago.
Yeah, I think, Perky, when you look at the outcome of this tournament, though, you're going to see how holes, particularly 3 come into play, how guys play the shorter holes, too, because, I mean, we look at the difficulty that Rory McIlroy has had over history with those particular short holes. He struggled on 7. He struggled on 3. He struggled on 17. So those particular holes are controlling wedge, controlling spin, and how you play those holes and manage your game. Now, we'll see how Bryson DeChambeau handles that. We know that his short game has gotten pretty damn good. So it's not that he just hits at 350 in the air. He also has managed, much like Dustin Johnson has, much like Tiger Woods did, is with that length, they've also managed to create some incredible wedge games as well. And that is going to come into play massively this week.
Hey, Ian, on your list of big ball hitters, Ian, did you mention Koepka?
Yeah, obviously finding some great form last week, couple of 65s on the weekend. Always banged up, but this is a guy, as you know, that obviously answers the bell when it comes around to major championships. Struggled
Yes, he does.
this year with injuries, but he has some form coming in here. And, nobody's more confident and arrogant than that guy heading into a major championship. So, absolutely, he's got to be in consideration.
Here's a guy that finished second last year, Ian, and 3-putted 5 greens.
Yeah.
And finished second. So, I mean, his approach to the green, his ball striking is not the problem. And perhaps the wet will help him on those very, very, very tough greens.
Yeah, and last week was a good driving course too. So, I mean, he definitely drove the ball well last week.
And his doctor says his injuries aren't going to be a factor. He says he's 100%.
Yeah, and I don't dismiss the injury situation, but with Koepka, I don't know about you guys. I've been waiting for him to be the dominant player on the tour because there have been so many moments where he's risen to the occasion and been clearly the best player out there. It's not once or twice where you think it might be a fluke or a good week or whatever. The guy has been great, and as Lego said, especially in major championships. Do you think it's just the injuries that have curtailed his overall performance, or is there a flaw there somewhere? What do you think?
I think there's a combination there. Number one, the injuries for sure. I think the way that he addresses his, fitness component of how he plays the game is going to have to be adjusted. It's no different than what we saw with David Duval. I think that he's paying the price for the way that he approaches his workouts. Tiger Woods exactly the same.
Sure.
So we'll have to see. And I just want to know the reason why this guy plays the game. He seems to be a little bit more involved with the social media component rather than just playing golf. And so I'm not a big fan of that. I want him to just, that's why, I like the Justin Thomases of the PGA Tour. They just play the game. They're not, sure, they have a social media component to create interest from a fan base, but it isn't a priority. And it seems to be becoming more and more of a priority for him. The things that he's posting, just play the game. But there's no doubt about it that he has a competitive itch to scratch when it comes to teeing it up in major championships. And he's, I've always been a good, strong component of the guy that hates to lose is much better than the guy that loves to win. And Brooks Koepka hates to lose. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see whether he can manage to keep his form for 4 days around Augusta National.
What about Tiger?
It'll be interesting. Again, we keep dismissing this guy. He keeps coming back. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we've seen some incredible moments at Augusta National. We obviously, him last year was something we thought we would never, ever seen. Miracles happen at Augusta National. Well, Jack in '86. The moments that have happened. I mean, Nick Faldo winning in '87 was a miracle as far as I'm concerned. The collapse of Norman. So
just say Greg Norman doesn't necessarily think so, but
but there's no way in the world that you would have ever thought that that Norman. That was in '96. Sorry, not '87. But I think that Augusta National has the ability to create very, very special moments in the game of golf. And now what would be more special than Tiger Woods winning back-to-back major, green jackets when we have already dismissed him probably 5 years ago from ever winning again.
And last year, his caddy thought he didn't play enough going into last year too.
Right.
LeCava thought he's not sharp. He hasn't played enough, and then boom.
Just from a technical perspective of the golf course, sunrise is about 6:30, 6:35, but sunsets before 5 o'clock. So we've got split tees. Is this a golf course that, does it stand up with split tees, Ian?
Yeah, I don't think there's any advantage the tee shot on 1 and the tee shot on 10, if you're talking about starting your rounds, are equally, nerve-wracking. No matter, obviously, you'd probably like to have 9 holes under your belt before you hit that tee shot on 10, but I think you'd like to have 9 holes under your belt to hit that tee shot on 1 too. So I think there's no doubt about it that the back 9 getting through 10, 11, and 12 are very, very difficult. Could set you off on the wrong path, where the front 9 is a much, much easier start with 1, 2, and 3. So I don't know. I don't think there's any advantage one way or the other.
It'll be interesting to see with all the rain on Thursday if they can finish.
I was just going to say, if I was going to Vegas, I'd bet I'd bet we're going to see golf on Monday too, and maybe Tuesday.
Quite possibly, yeah. I agree with that.
Well, nobody else will play because we get more golf.
The weather and combine that with the time problem.
Yeah.
The fact that the days are so much shorter. I don't see how they finish 72 holes in 4 days.
That'll be the second biggest change at Augusta this year. The biggest, of course, is that the clubhouse will be draped in black for Donald Trump.
No, don't go there, Perky.
I knew Perky would try to find another alley.
All those members are Trump people. Trust me.
You mean they weren't no mail-in ballots there?
They're like the NFL owners, 32 of them would love to have Donald as president, but none of them would have him as a guy who can own a team in the league.
Hey, Bob, Perkins is back. He's better than ever.
That's a lot, boys. But
we better ask about Corey Connor, Nick Taylor, Adam Hadwin, and Masters champion Mike Weir. What do you think? What chances did the Canadian foursome have?
Well, I think Corey Connors is, is light years better than any other Canadian on the PGA Tour. I mean, this kid he's one of the best ball strikers, if not the best ball striker on the PGA Tour. Corey Connors is a top 10 player in the world if he can figure out his putting. He hasn't finished inside the top 150 on the PGA Tour yet in putting. So, but he has moments. Incredible ball striking, and I think it's only ever once in the history of the of the Masters tournament, I believe this is true, and that was when Vijay Singh won, that a player didn't finish in the top 5 in putting that week. So this is going to be a tough hurdle for him to cross, but there's no doubt about it. He can hit it around that golf course. It's a matter of whether he's going to be able to hole some putts. Now, he's got some history there. Obviously, he's been around. He's played 2 Masters tournaments. So he's got some experience, but I'm not sure how much experience plays into moving this tournament to November. I think it's almost a brand new venue for everybody, but there's no doubt about it. If they're out of those 4 particular guys, Corey Connors has the best opportunity to perform well.
And it's a tough place to learn the greens too, because there are subtle changes every year.
Yeah.
Right. They tweak it, and they're always, messing with their golf course, and they're pretty good at it. They kind of know how to make it a little tougher, a little easier. There was a couple of years there about 15 years ago when they had made it so it was kind of like a U.S. Open course. Like whoever won was the guy who made the most 8-footers for par. It was that kind of, and you didn't hear the roars. You didn't hear you didn't see guys shooting 31 on the back 9 with a couple of eagles, and you didn't hear the roars for a couple of years. And they adjusted their golf course so that they kind of brought the roars back. And all of a sudden it was, there was some birdies and some eagles, and the water was still catching, errant shots. It's a terrifically designed golf course for that risk reward, but they can play with it a little. And I think it's tough on a golfer who just shows up second time, third time, and thinks he's seen these greens before, because he may have seen them before, but he hasn't putted them before.
I know that the folks at Augusta do not like it when the PGA players come in and tear their golf course up, and they've made changes anytime they thought things were getting a little out of hand. Now, that's not to say this is nothing like the United States Golf Association, who literally do everything they can to have the U.S. Open won at even par or even over par. They sadistically seem to like that. What's the in your both of you? What's your opinion of what's the number that Augusta will kind of strive for the winning score, given the conditions, given all the other factors in here? Like, what would they like to see? 8, 10 under?
No, I don't think so. I don't think they have a number in mind, actually, to tell you the truth. I think they're just looking for the best player that week. The score doesn't matter to them. And I think that you can look at this tournament as a history. There is no doubt about it. Do you look at the end of this week and go, somebody else should have won the tournament? Mm-hmm. That doesn't happen at Augusta National. Whoever wins is ultimately the best player that week. And I think they set up a golf course that's very, very fair for everybody. And again, obviously I've said that the longer player has a huge advantage, but you don't get through an event where crazy stuff happens like you see at the US Open. I think you get very well rewarded for good shots at Augusta National. You don't get rewarded for good shots when the USGA sets up golf courses. So I think that at the end of the week, no matter who wins this golf tournament, is the best player this week.
They're more sensible, as Lego says. It's just like the RNA. RNA does not care what the score is at the Open Championship. Their goal is to identify the best golfer of the week, and that's all they care about. And the USGA, all they care about is guys making bogeys. And they love
even par at the U.S. Open is always their benchmark, and that's what they strive for. And there's wreckage along the way. You don't see wreckage at Augusta National.
But isn't part of that too with the USGA is that they can change the rough all the time, and there's no like you don't change the rough because there is no rough at Augusta.
Yeah, I think the conditions, whatever the conditions are, is what you get. Very much like Perky said at an Open Championship. It is what it is. We're going to see some wet conditions this week. We're going to see guys being able to control the ball on the green. You know, the conditions are what they are. It doesn't matter. And if it's perfect the week at Augusta National, the guy shoots 18 under par, they don't care. If it's windy and it's difficult and 4 under par wins, they don't care. All they care about is identifying the best player that particular week.
Well, and I appreciate your the parameters of the numbers that you threw out there, Lego. But the truth is, you know, going back to what Perky said about the RNA, here's a truth I think we would all agree with. Take whatever golf course the British Open is on, give me perfect weather conditions and maybe 20 under par wins. Give me horrendous weather conditions, which are just as likely, and maybe 10 over par wins on the very same golf course. Now, you don't usually get those kinds of variables in North America and certainly at Augusta. And what this wet weather will mean is a mystery to, I think, all of us. We're not, you know, you can't be 100% sure as how the game will be played.
Well, we're going to see some wind this week too. And, you know, when you get coastal golf courses at 6,800 yards, they're built for those type of conditions. And you put the best players on the world under, you know, calm conditions on a 6,800 yard golf course, it's all over.
Yeah.
But you're right. You get conditions where it starts blowing 50 miles an hour sideways, which usually on British Open golf courses, you know, it is blowing across the golf course, not into you or downwind. So you get some very, very difficult conditions. And again, the best players in the world don't have an issue with controlling the ball on the ground. They have a big issue controlling the ball in the air. So, and when you get some difficult, you get British Open, you've got to be able to do both. You got to be able to control the ball on the ground and in the air under certain conditions. And at Augusta National, it's an air game, 100% air game.
Yep.
There's no ground game at Augusta National. So that's why I think, again, this week it's going to be the guy who hits it the furthest and the straightest is going to win this golf tournament.
You know, the other magic about this tournament, and we've talked about this incessantly for decades, is that every person who watches all 4 rounds or even on the weekend, they feel they know the golf course because it's the same golf course for the most part every year. Yep. They understand Amen Corner. They understand 16, 17. They understand walking up 18. And that's part of the real allure of this golf tournament is that it's the same golf course every year. Mm-hmm. This year, November rather than April. But we all think, even if you haven't been there, we all think we know the golf course. And that makes this one, I think, that much more special.
Absolutely does. I mean, if I asked you what the 12th hole is at Baltusrol,
no idea.
You couldn't even tell me. I asked you what the 12th hole at Augusta National is, you know exactly.
I can't even tell you what the 12th at St. George's is again. So, you know.
You can't even tell me the 12th hole you played last week. So.
Well, that's not true. That's not true. I put it in the water on 12 at Glen Abbey again.
And speaking of things you don't remember, nobody remembers a winning score more than a couple of days later. What did Mike shoot the year he won? I forgot. I was there.
4 under?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But you know what I mean? Like, nobody cares. All you care about is whose name's on the trophy.
Yeah.
And exactly as we were saying. Like, I don't know who, you know, I'm trying to think. I remember Woods at 18 under because it was so ridiculous. But I don't know. I can't even remember who's come closest to it since.
Right.
So it doesn't matter.
All right, we would be remiss, and it's obviously a tradition, not just for us, but for
a tradition like no other.
Like no other. To make some sort of prediction on who will win this event. And the relevance of this to the audience, and especially the betting public, is zero.
Yeah, that's right.
It means absolutely nothing.
Nobody's taking these to the bank.
The 4
Webb Simpson.
There's nothing more ludicrous in the sports betting world than trying to pick the winner of a golf tournament. Even when Tiger was at his best or Jack was at his best, it is still like throwing darts into the ocean. But let's go. Perk, we'll give you the first shot at this. Give me your name or a couple of names.
Well, like everybody else, I want to see this DeChambeau turned loose. But you know, somebody can sneak in the back way, like Xander Schauffele or what, you know, the pro from the moon. Somebody like him, or you know, Molinari was doing great last year. He was tied for the lead at the 15th and with Tiger, and dumped it in the water. Somebody like that, like that nobody pays attention to, could show up. I what do I know? You know.
Lego.
I think the one guy that's really going to stick out this week is Tony Finau. Tony Finau is a guy that is destined to win a major championship. I think that he's been arguably the most consistent player on the PGA Tour for the last 2 years without winning. So he has the ability to do it. He played well last year. I think this course sets up well for him. So he would be my pick, along with the form that Dustin Johnson showed last week as well. I think he's got the demeanor, and if anybody needs a green jacket on their resume to validate their career, it's him. So those are my two picks.
Hey, remember Finau, how he dislocated his ankle on the, in the par three? Yeah. Is it my turn?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. I'm going to go with two guys from the other side of the pond. I'm going to go with Rory. I think there's lots of positives in Rory's life right now. His wife's expecting a baby. I think that if this is a mental game, I think it's a big part of it. And I think Paul Casey loves to play here. I think Paul Casey, to Perk's point, I think he's one of those guys.
He's a dark horse, yeah.
I think Paul Casey can be a really good, solid contender every day at Augusta this week.
Yeah. Difficult closer, though.
Yeah, those are all interesting choices, but of course, here's the real choice.
Let me get
the only
my
one you
pen
need to
out.
really pay attention to.
Write it down.
And
Perk.
hey, don't pick Freddie Couples, okay? I know you want to.
See, and the freaking problem that I have when hosting these kinds of things is I always go last, and inevitably somebody picks my pick
Bob,
in advance, and then I look like I'm just tagging along.
Go first.
You can confirm my picks if you'd like.
You can go into first next year.
Yeah,
Well,
go first next year. And it's only 5 months away.
Yeah, there's that.
Hey, we're recording it. We could actually do it over again and start the show over and let you go first if you'd like.
Well, I
have
may
never
not air
that.
this till Monday, and then just edit all your crap out. And,
So you can
Ian, we have never
That's
done
live.
that, and we're not starting now, okay?
Look, I'm intrigued by DeChambeau like everybody else. The Tigers win last year. I mean, Tiger is Tiger, and I don't think you can completely dismiss him. I really do believe that he knows how to play this golf course better than anybody maybe that has ever played it. Maybe better than Jack. And
Bite your tongue.
that means nothing if you don't have the talent, but he has the talent too. Whether it appears this week or not, I don't know. I must confess, I like the Rory pick, although I'm not sure why, other than I like his game, and I don't know whether he's going to have it or isn't going to have it. And I love the DJ pick because when you talk about long hitters, and I think we all conceded earlier that it's almost impossible for a short hitter, going to be impossible for a short hitter to win this week. And DeChambeau may have an advantage. DJ has been the number one player in the world for how long, Lego? Long time. 18 months.
Justin Thomas snuck in there to take him out
for a week
couple
or so,
weeks
but
here and there. Yeah. Probably most of the last year. Yeah.
I know I'm guilty of not thinking about DJ and underrating DJ, but the guy's got all the tools and hits it far. And I think he's won enough that he's not going to be spooked by playing Augusta, or if he's in the final group on Sunday, I think he can keep his you-know-what together. And he'd be my number one choice. And I know it's not out on a limb, but
yeah,
I think there are reasons.
I agree with you. Yep.
Okay, Bob, you can pick first in April then, okay? We'll let you pick first, just so you don't whine.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll save you all the time. I'm picking DJ this year, and I'm picking DJ again in April. So
Okay.
the hell with the rest of you. Gentlemen, it's sad that the golf season is coming to an end. It's even sadder that it happens when the three of us who are prone to head south around this time of year and the next 4 or 5 months, in all likelihood, won't be able to do that. But we will watch this week at Augusta, Georgia for the Masters.
Hey,
with
Robert.
all the interest we ever would. Well, yes, John, please.
Is it great to have Dave Perkins back or what?
I can't tell you how happy we are to see you,
Love to see Perky. Love to see Perky.
It's great to be seen. Let me tell you that.
Well, and we're going to ask you to do this again on some sort of regular or if not irregular basis, and we hope you'll
Absolutely
lend us your time.
I hope so.
Guys, thanks. Enjoy
Gents.
Augusta. Enjoy the Masters. Wrong
Thank you,
time of year,
gentlemen.
but it's still the Masters.
Hit him straight.
That's it for the podcast for today. We'll see you on Friday. Bye, everyone.
Good night.